My name is Richard Dolan. It's normal for us to introduce ourselves in these things, and I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself and how I got here. I grew up a Catholic, nuns in grammar school, Xaverian brothers in high school, all in Massachusetts. Like many, I wasn't the most observant in college and young adulthood, but when it came time to decide how to raise our own kids, Marilyn and I decided that we wanted to pass on a religious heritage to them. Our two daughters were baptized at St. Charles Borromeo in Brooklyn Heights. It's around the corner from where we live. And I took them to Mass there on Sundays when they were little. But St. Charles did not have a nursery program or really anything for kids, in those days anyway. So I bring the usual assortment of junk to try to distract them to get through the Mass without too much embarrassment. The younger one, Sophie, wasn't much interested in sitting quietly through anything. If she didn't like what the choir was singing, she would yell at them, "I don't like that song." If one Sunday, when the pastor, Father Krause, was in the middle of his sermon and Sophie had tired of all the yak, she yelled out in an unfortunately loud voice, "Enough!" Yeah, well, it wasn't so funny at the time. When I got home, I told Marilyn this just wasn't working. She had heard through the grapevine of St.Boniface and how it was supposed to have a really good kids program, so I came to try it out, first by myself and then with the two girls. Susie was 6 or so, Sophie was about 3. We crash-landed here, no registration, didn't know anybody. We just showed up and I started taking them to the nursery program. But we were welcomed. Eileen Randig finally caught up with us. We ended up getting registered, all got straightened out. That was around 2002 or so, and we've been here ever since. So that's how I got here, basically for the kids. Over the years, I've been on the parish council. I've chaired one of the committees, participated in coffee hour. That's the Chinese New Year thing. It's really more Marilyn than me, and Dolores over there. I just do the dishes for the cleanup. At any rate, we've done that, and more recently, I've served as a Eucharistic minister, back when we had that too. But most Sundays, I'm now here by myself. So why stay? Others have noted that this is a welcoming community. It offers great music, you heard it today. Has a wonderful traditional liturgy offered in the most contemporary idiom. That's all true, love it all. But I want to focus on an additional aspect that, for me at least, is perhaps the most important of all. Father Dennis once said that he can't recall anything from the sermons he heard as a young man. What's different here is that they make such an impact that I often do remember them. Here are a few that have stuck with me. Father Mark often talks about how the gospel is about putting people first, being willing to listen and respond, not being so wrapped up in oneself. Over the years, he's used episodes from his own life to illustrate it. One related to how, as a young priest, his sermon was interrupted by noise in the congregation, and he stopped speaking, waiting for it to end. I think it was a baby crying or something like that, but I may have the detail wrong. By stopping his sermon until the noise died down, Mark caused everyone to focus on the source. As Father Mark told it, his regret was that he had put his own priorities first, when he should have been more open to the embarrassment that pointing out the frantic parents on the spot, putting them on the spot, would cause. One Sunday, Father Dennis was talking about how to live in an often abusive world, one that if you let it will walk all over you. And his theme was that in living the Christian life, we're not called to be a doormat, I think that was his word, to be abused and stepped on. Perhaps I misunderstood, but I think his point was that the command, love thy neighbor as thyself, presumes that you actually do love yourself and that you're entitled to a certain amount of respect. And whatever turn the other cheek may mean, it doesn't mean passively accepting whatever abuse anyone else wants to dish out. Father Joel, much loved and sorely missed, once approached a similar theme from the opposite end. He was discussing the panhandlers and other street people we all see every day. As he put it, you don't owe anyone $1, but you do owe them the respect due another human. That phrase has stuck with me. He didn't try to detail what respect requires, but he suggested even if it's just meeting their gaze, making eye contact, that may be enough. Finally, when my youngest was in confirmation class with Father Anthony, he asked the parents if they had anything they wanted to ask. So I did. My daughter, who's extremely good at pulling my chain, had focused on the fact that we had an extra bedroom in the house, and she wanted to know why I hadn't offered it to one of the street people who didn't have any place to go. "Wasn't that what you're supposed to do if you're sincere about all this?" she asked. So I put it to Anthony. His response was admirably Zen-like. He smiled and said only, "Gee, that's a tough one." I took from his non-response that sometimes you just have to figure this stuff out for yourself. What's the balance between not being a doormat and giving people the respect they deserve? It's not always easy, and I confess I don't often get it right. My point in recounting these little vignettes to you, what I remember from these sermons, was to answer the question, why have I decided to stay? So in addition to this being a welcoming community, having great music, and we heard it again today, and all of that, I can give you 7 reasons that have hit home for me. Their names are Mark and Dennis, Michael and Anthony, Mark Paul and Joel and James. One of the main reasons why I stay, my reason for standing up here today and saying this, is that by coming to this church and being open to what is said and done here, I've been encouraged, challenged, often pushed to be a better man. If faith is a journey, that sounds like progress, however small and halting it may be. This is a special place. It is steeped in our ancient faith, and it is focused on bringing it to life in today's world. It is worthy of your support. When I was in grammar school and the nuns were trying to raise money for some cause, they would often say that if the collection was a little short, they would sprinkle it with holy water and all would be well. Alas, the finances here have been more than a little short for a while, and I don't think Father Mark has a supply of that special holy water. So if St. Boniface is to survive and thrive, it will be because of all of us, you and me together, that have made it possible. I urge you to answer the call and do what you can. Thank you.